Okay, we're going to have a look now at the first drawing assignment in Module 6, the section view assignment. I want to go through this one a little bit slowly because I think there's a lot of content to talk about that's going to help later on in the other drawing assignments. So this is a full section drawing, okay? And what I'm showing right here is just the regular top and front view, okay? And we can first look here. Obviously, some of this is going to change. In fact, the front view is going to look completely different when we put the section view. But I wanted to show you what the regular view would look like in the case that we weren't applying a section view. And you can see there's a lot of hidden lines for the holes, okay? So we have these series of 3, 6 holes arranged around the perimeter of this object. And those, of course, would show up as hidden lines here. Okay, so first things first. These holes out here are dimensioned with a diameter 0.34 and then diameter 0.70, and it says on the dimension in the drawing, S face, and then it says 6 holes, okay? So that note, diameter 0.70 S face, is an old notation for a spot face, okay? And a spot face is basically a shallow counterbore, all right? And so that's kind of what I've drawn here. All right, so let me dimension these just so you can see what I'm talking about, okay? Again, this is not something that you have to do. This is just to help explain what you're looking at. So remember the first dimension in the note is a 0.34 diameter, and that's what we see right there, okay? 0.34, that's that hole right there. And in fact, let me show you up here. Let me see if I can get these both in there. And so this right here is a 0.34, okay? So that hole right there is that hole as a hidden line in the front view, all right? Now, the 0.70 is right here, okay? And that's shown in this view, in the front view right here, okay? So that's the spot face. Now, the only thing that's not given in the note, remember the note is 0.34, diameter 0.34, then the next line, diameter 0.7, S face, 6 holes, okay? So the only thing that isn't defined in that dimension is the depth of the spot face right here. And that's because a spot face is drawn at an arbitrary depth. Okay, on the factory floor or where the spot face is being made, it is drilled to a depth just so you come below the surface. So what is typical, what is standard when you're drawing this is to draw it with a depth of 0.06 inches, okay, or 2 millimeters. All right, so that's what I drew this as. And that's what you should draw this as, okay? So let's go on. All right, so that's taking care of that whole, the dimension for that hole, for those 6 holes, actually. Everything else should be pretty straightforward. Before we move on, excuse me, to actually making the section view, let me talk a little bit about center lines because they're kind of problematic here. So in the top view, when you use the center mark command, right, the center mark command here, and you choose the outer circles. In fact, let me do this again, and I'll show you what happens. Okay, so we go to center mark, and then we choose the outermost circle, and then we do the same thing over here, like so. You might be able to see it here, but we have like a double line right there. We have 2 lines on top of each other, and we don't want that. That's, that's bad practice, bad CAD practice. Okay, so how are we going to handle that? Well, here's how we can do it. Remember that when we click on one of the center marks, we get the grip ends for the center marks, and you get the square and you got the triangle. Okay. The triangle represents the extension, and the square represents the endpoint. All right. So what we're going to do right here, you can see one of the lines is I'm going to grab the triangle and I'm going to pull it back to the end of the little plus right there. So watch, I'm going to go like this, click on it, and then drag it back and click again. Whoops, let me go back here. Let's try that again. I'm going to grab the square, and I'm going to drag it back to the end of the triangle right there. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing over on this side. Let's hit escape to get out of that and then go to this side, grab the square and drag it back right. Right there is good. Okay, there we go. All right, so good. So they both look equal. And what we're going to do now is fill this space in with a center line. So I'm going to draw a center line. I'm on the center line layer, and I'm going to draw a line from the endpoint here to the endpoint here. And then there we go. Okay. So that makes it all nice and pretty. So we don't have double lines. Double lines are definitely not something that we want to have in our drawing, for a lot of different reasons, but that's one of them is that, it makes for a confusing drawing if somebody else is going to go into your drawing and look at things when you have double lines. Also, if you end up getting information out of the drawing, like through a CNC program or any kind of simulation program, double lines can be confusing for the software package that you insert the drawing or the file into. So, we want to avoid double lines as much as we can. All right. So now, last thing, the center marks in here. So these center marks, and again, I'll make these for you. We're on the center line layer. We go to Annotate, center line, and we choose these lines right there. That's not long enough, right? Obviously, that needs to go through. This is a cylindrical region up here, so this needs to go through that. So I want to remind you that you need to adjust these to the correct length. So you need to grab the square again and move it up here. And remember, the triangle will go with it. Grab the square, click, and move it up here, click. And then we want to do the same thing down here because, look at that. See, it only goes there. So we want to grab it like that. One of the other things is this just makes your drawing look more professional. All right. When you take the care to make sure that things look professional, it is always reflected in a better appreciation for your drawing. People, will look at it and know that you took care when you did your drawing, your bosses, other coworkers. So it's just a good thing to follow the same kind of standard and principles that are either recognized nationally, internationally, or at least in your department. Okay. All right. So that's that. That's the front and top view of our object. Now we're going to change this to a full section view. Okay. So we're going to first change the front view. Okay. And the front view, basically, most of these hidden lines are going to become visible lines because where we're cutting is going to be right down the middle. So in essence, I'm going to draw a line. This is not the actual cutting plane line. I'm just kind of drawing something so that I can show you. And I'll draw it on the notes layer. What we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be drawing a line or cutting right through there. All right. Right where that white line is. That's where we're going to be cutting our object in half. We're going to be discarding the front half here and looking at, in the front view, looking at it as if this is the only half. Okay. So let me erase that last line and let's go down here. So that means that, let's see, this line and this line and this line are going to become visible. Okay. This line and this line for the whole and here are going to become visible. Now, by the way, I should say I'm showing you this. This is not actually how I would draw this. I wouldn't go through the trouble of drawing the hidden lines and then changing them. Okay, so I don't want you to get the impression that when you're doing a section view, the first thing you have to do is draw the regular view and then change the lines. No, you don't have to do this. I'm doing this just for explanatory purposes to describe what's going on. Now, these holes on the left and the right, well, we're going to cut through those as well. So these become hidden lines, except for the center mark. So I don't want to grab the center mark. Let's grab that one there. And then we go like that. Okay, I think I have all of them. And then that becomes a visible line, right? We don't want to change the center line. And then the same thing over here. So we go like this, and we go like this, and then we choose that. And we go like, we change that to visible. Everything's good. And what do you think happens to these holes in the front view, in the section view, right? So these holes right here represent, well, in the section view, these holes would represent this back hole here and this back hole here. But remember the rule, we do not put hidden lines in a section view unless it is absolutely very, very important to do that. And this is not the case. So all of these, you guessed it, are going bye-bye. So we delete those. All right, now, last thing to do here, this line right here, which in this case would represent the back surface, would also be shown as a hidden line in the section view, but again, that is not necessary here. So we're going to delete that as well. So there's our section view without the section lines. So now let's add the section lines. So the section lines are added on the section layer. And we go up to the hatch command right here in the draw panel, and we go hatch. All right. And what I like to do is I like to kind of put the hatch in first and then adjust it. So I'm going to click in the areas where the hatching is going. Whoops, right there, and right there. And actually that hatch scale looks pretty good. All right. I don't think we need it any tighter or any more open. The angle, of course, is fine, right? That's an angle of 0 and a hatch scale of 1. The hatching pattern is correct. It is ANSI 31. Okay, so that's all good. And we have it associative, which is what we want. So we can just close this. All right, and so there we go. All right, now, last thing we need to do, it says in your assignment that you are, let's see. Actually, it does not say that you need to draw a cutting point line. Okay, it does not say in this assignment that you need to draw a cutting point line. It says draw the top view and a full section front view. And it does not say that you need a cutting point line. So we all know, because you listened to my lecture, we all know that a full section, if there's only one section view in a drawing and it is a full section, the cutting plane line may be omitted. All right, so I'm going to leave it up to you to omit the cutting plane line. For those of you that want to put the cutting plane line in, I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so now, unfortunately, all that work we did for the center mark here has got to go bye-bye. Why? Well, because we're going to put the cutting point line right on top of that. And again, we don't want a double line. So I can't put that in there. So guess what? That goes away, and that goes away, and that goes away. And we're going to have to replace that with a regular center line, a line on the center line layer. All right. But in the meantime, let's put the cutting point line. So there's the cutting plane layer. So I'm going to change that. Now I'm going to put a line in from this quadrant all the way across to that quadrant. Okay. Now, I got to extend it, and according to your CAD standard, I need to extend it a 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset a 1/2 inch, that out there and that out there. And then I'm going to use the extend command to extend that there and extend that there. All right. So you see how we can use our geometry as extensions. So there we go. Now I need to put that pesky multi-leader in there. So we're going to go to multi-leader. And this is just what I like to do. I like to put the multi-leader out here so I can kind of mess around with it and play with it. So multi-leader, I pick this point. I'm going to go down some length, long enough, right? Click, and then escape, escape. All right, so I hit escape to cancel the command. Remember that the next thing that we have to do before we can't trim it or manipulate it, we have to explode it first. We go to explode, we choose the line, and we say, or the leader, and we explode it. Now it's all separate, and I can get rid of that. We need to scale the arrow tip, so I'm going to go to scale and go like this. I windowed it. I hit enter. The base point is on the tip, and I'm going to scale it by a factor of 2. And now we're going to go to offset again, offset 0.5, and I'm going to offset this 0.5. Why? Because the length of the cutting point line arrow needs to be 0.5 from the cutting point line. All right, so that point right there gives me a reference point. So now I'm going to move, and I'm going to select that, and I'm going to move it from the tip again, right there. Right, and then there we go. And that, whoops, hey, I missed that. Let me undo that. Do that again. Undo. There we go. Move. Wasn't paying attention, and there we go. All right, and now I can erase this, and I can trim that back there. All right, and so there we are. All right, that is a proper cutting point line. You're going to have to put the cutting point line in the other drawing, so it's good for you to see it. Even though I'll go ahead and put it in the other samples that I do, or demonstrations that I do here. Now we have to get it on the other side, so I'm just going to use the move command. We could use the mirror command also, but I'll use the move here. So I'm going to window that with the move command, and I'll just grab the end right there, and I'll move it over here. And then there we go. Whoops. Sorry about that, people. Not the move command. We want to use the copy command. Holy cow. Let's try that again. All right, so copy. We grab the end here. And there we go. All right, now notice the arrows, which way they're pointing. They're pointing away from the section view because that is the direction of sight to create the section view. All right, so that, my friends, is almost the finished drawing. What have I left out? I've left out the center marks here. So remember, the cutting point line takes the place of the center mark here, so I just need to add a center mark going this way, and that should be pretty easy. Go to the center line layer, draw a line from the quadrant to the quadrant. All right, and remember we have to have it extend 0.09 inches above that line. So I'm going to go offset 0.09, and I'm going to offset that circle again. And then I'm going to use the extend command and extend it there and extend it there, right? It's okay to be lazy. That was the lazy way to do it, right? And another lazy thing is I've already drawn it, so I'm going to just copy it over here. And make sure you use the copy, not the move. And we'll grab that right there, and we'll move it right there, and there we go, right? Okay, so in fact, that looks better than the last one. But that is the finished drawing, all right? Or at least the two views. Okay, the last thing we need to do is get this set up, and it says to plot it on a B-size sheet. So I'm going to go to ANSI B. I'm going to double click in here, do a zoom extents, bring it in, and let's see what scale. I bet 1:1 is going to be good. Yeah, 1:1 is good. All right. In fact, these views are a little bit too close, so I'm just going to move them apart a little bit. Remember, when you move views, don't shift them, right? Please move it vertically or horizontally only. So there we go. I think that's a little bit more balanced. That looks good. I'm at a scale of 1:1. I'll lock that, and I'll double click outside. I won't go through the title block filling out because I'm sure that you are well versed in doing that. And so that is a complete demonstration of the first assignment in module number 6 for the full section of the shaft base. Okay? I'll see you in the next video.